Me. Sorry, let's try this again. How's my audio settings out there, world? You can't hear me still. That's a problem. Can you hear me now? Anything? Can you hear me now? All right, cool. Good deal. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a problem in OBS where I can't hear anything that's happening on the stream. So I'm playing by guess. I'm getting feedback from Tony, actually. So hi, Tony. Thank you for being in the chat. Appreciate it. Always a joy to fiddle with the OBS gremlins, but I think we're in good shape now, and we'll get started. Hopefully you joined us last week. We had a great guest on, Matt Best from The Beckoning Dream. Had a really good conversation last week. This week, for something a little bit different, I'm going to be jumping back into the One Ring, doing some session planning. I had played a little bit this weekend, and so I have a pretty good idea of what I need to work on. So I'm just going to jump into it. So let me share my Lorelink screen here. So I have done a few things. We had a session, so I can mark this session as completed. And one of the things that I'm going to do is go switch to edit mode. There we go. I want to switch this to completed, and I'm going to add just a few bits of lore in here. So we're going to link a few things, and we're going to, oops, not what I wanted to do. I want to open up my stories. We did Where the Rivers Run with Gold. Confused. Where am I? Okay. Where the Rivers Run with Gold. Cool. Don't leave the path. Where rivers run with gold. What have I done? I have done something. Oh. Okay, so by the way, to prevent this issue, Lorelink is smart and it knows what things you've already linked. The problem is I didn't know what I'd already linked, so let's try that again. The edge of the woodland realm. There we go. We did that. We did the long road. Okay, we did that. We did Castle of Spiders, sort of. I'll explain in a minute. Okay, so we did that. So that's completed and that's completed. So we did all three of these. We actually did the Castle of Spiders, but here's what happened. When you go through the adventure, this adventure is starting outside the Long Lake, so outside of the ruined lake town. So the setting time-wise is between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So if I remember correctly, it's been 6 years since Smaug was defeated, and Lake Town has been at least partially rebuilt, if not mostly rebuilt, but in its completely different location. The old Lake Town is still there as a ruin, because that is where Smaug's corpse is, and nobody wants to go back there. So that is where our story started. And the adventurers encountered a child running out of the woods, screaming for help. They go to help. His father's a merchant used to be a successful merchant from Lake Town, and has been trying to get his business back up and running. And he has hired some guards to help him see a shipment through Mirkwood. And they decided it sounded a lot easier to just steal the shipment than to actually walk all the way through Mirkwood. So once that's dealt with, you go in you meet with the elves, you go to the King's Hall, spend a couple days there, and then begin the trek through Mirkwood. And at one point, they deal with spiders, they deal with all kinds of stuff through the journey, and they get to a clearing, they spend the night, it's clean, it's safe, it's beautiful, you're near the end of your journey, and the merchant drinks from the water, which the water was fine. They'd been drinking from it all day. It turns out that water turns at night and filled him with visions, or more accurately, destroyed part of his memory. And so he runs off. And you're supposed to run on this merry chase off the forest through Mirkwood, through the dangers of Mirkwood, but they're like, no, not going to do that. I tackle him, and they rolled insanely well. They got a Gandalf on the D12, and then I think a couple D6s. There was an 8 involved, and they just tackled him and prevented him from leaving the camp. And you know what? As a GM, kudos, congratulations. You did what you're supposed to do. You got multiple warnings about not leaving the path. You refused to let him leave the path. You were being alert. You had been keeping watch. You were keeping close tabs on things, and you reacted appropriately. And then the dice said, absolutely. So you got to roll with it. So that circumvented this entire section of the adventure of the Castle of Spiders. Just gone, because he never ran off. So part of the joy of the next session planning is going to be figuring out what to do from this point forward. No big deal, but that's kind of how things go. So anyway, we're going to plan session 2. I don't have a date for it yet, but this is going to be in planning. We're going to save that. Come in, and I'm going to link in the Hermit. And the Well in the Wood, and Epilogue. First Gate. Cool. So we've got all these things in LinkedIn then. So this is where we're going to start with the next session. Now, a couple things came up while I was running this, and that for the first and most obvious thing is, gee, I don't know the system as well as I would like to. The other thing that I realized is that I've run the 2nd edition starter, which fortunately that adventure runs like, hey, you're a new GM and you're new players. It walks you through. It gives you kind of a scaled down set of the rules and really walks you through what to do at every step. The other printed adventures don't do that so much, especially the 1st edition adventures, which is what I was running. I was running a 1st edition adventure, but we're playing 2nd edition, and it turns out some of the rules have different names, so I wasn't able to find stuff on the fly, and I kind of winged it. But also, some of the monsters I didn't have stats for, etc. So one of the things that I need to do as part of planning is a couple conversions from 1st edition to 2nd edition as they apply to this adventure. Most things are fine as is, but there's a few things that require some adjustment. So we're going to figure that out together because I actually am not entirely sure what I need to do here, but that's fine. The other thing that I need to do is actually put in some creature stats. So I started that a little bit. They ran into some adder cops. Here's some other spiders they could run into. The hunter spider. So apologies in advance if you don't like spiders. Look away for a moment. I'm about to share an image because I actually posted an image here. There it should be mostly behind us now. So I've got the description of the hunter spiders in here, and I have their stat block. And that's important because this stat block is kind of in an appendix of another book. Cool. That was useful. So the other problem that I'm going to have is that they ran into adder cops. Adder cops are, turns out, only in the 1st edition Lore Master book. It's the only place I can find the stat block. So I get to go through the process of adding them. The good news is I just got a notification that there's a bestiary coming out soon. They're going to be doing a crowdfunding for it, and I'm really excited about backing that. So I went out there and flagged that as another thing that I want to get when it comes out. But now we're going to come in and fill in the adder cop straight out of the book because that is the easiest thing to do. So we're going to grab the creature, we're going to link to the creature template, and then we're going to go through and customize for the adder cop. So, description: many-eyed and many-legged adder cops are giant spiders reaching up to the size of boars. They're crafty predators who attack unwary victims, first tying them up with their spider thread and then poisoning them. While a single adder cop does not pose a significant threat to any but a less experienced adventurer, a roused spider colony can be a challenge even for a veteran company of heroes. Okay. Now, you know adder cops exist, so they can see that. So the good news is that for the most part, difficulties and stats and everything translate pretty readily from 1st edition to 2nd edition, as close as I can tell. There's no real need for a conversion issue here. One of the things that's going to come up is there may be some slight differences in skills and things, but I'm going to worry about that later. The biggest difference is in the social skill. The social skills completely change name and a little bit how they function. So that's going to be the place where I have to spend some real time. But all right. So I just completely winged this because I had absolutely no freaking idea what the stats would be. And it turns out stats aren't great. Now I could do this as a table, but it's just a little bit easier to list them. So I'm going to do that. Snares 2, sting 2. I'm going to do this as a bulleted list for formatting purposes. And then special abilities, they get a great leap and seize victim. And I'm going to have to look up what those mean. See if I can find what oh, there's the spider weapons. Okay, cool. So spider weapon is going to be here. The weapon type is sting. The damage is attribute level. So the attribute level in this case is 3. So it's going to be 3. The edge is 10. Injury is 14. Cold shot is poison. Let's fix my typo. Okay, then we're going to have a spider poison. Now we're going to bolt that. Then a poisoned character is paralyzed and falls to the ground after a number of rounds equal to his body or heart rating, whichever is higher, in addition to suffering from the normal effects of being poisoned. Let's see, chapter 4 of the Adventurer's Book. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Adventurer's Book. I should have the I don't have the first edition Adventurer's Book here. Oh well. I have it in the other room. I'm gonna go grab that in a minute. I'll see if I can't find the second edition version of that in a minute. The effects of spider poison wear off after 1 full day. Cool. Now I'll go into view mode and then we can see the whole stat block. There's my skills, my weapon skills, special abilities, the weapon, cold shot effect, and then the details of the spider poison. Beautiful. There is an adder cop. So now, gee, that would have been really useful because we ran into them multiple times. So now that I have their stats, I'm going to first try to find the spider poison, what poisoning means. So I'm going to pull up the Ring book. Let me change my screen for you really quickly. Beautiful. So here's my full screen, and we're going to look for poison. Do a little search through here for poison. Yeah, this is a massive PDF, and it is super slow to search through. And you would think that on a decent CPU with 64 gig of RAM and a super fast SSD that it would be lightning fast, and it's still slow. So 20, you asked the question, is this started when we played on stream? So we played the starter kit of the One Ring V2 second edition One Ring on stream. Yes, we did that together. I also ran that at a number of events last year, including I think Origins and Gen Con. So right now, effectively what I'm doing is branching out and running other adventures in the same system. Sweet. Thanks, 20. Appreciate it. Places being poisoned. See page 130. Hey, there we go. Page 130. That might be a little faster. Okay. Killing blow, poison. There we go. So what we're gonna do, because this to me is important, I want to be able to get this into the system for reference because I don't remember the poison rules. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. We're going to switch back to Lurelink, and what I like to do for this is we're going to create a tag, and we're going to go back to edit mode. I'm going to create a rules reference tag, and then we'll fully share this. So these are just a handful of quick references that I need to have access to. And then inside of the rules reference, I'm going to go ahead and create poisons, right? And then we're going to grab the description. And then poisoned weapon or attack, effect, hero is considered dead. Okay, and then the description is going to be down here. Adventurers can be poisoned in several ways. They could be bitten by a giant spider, hit by an orcish broad-bladed sword, or end up eating venison hunted in the wrong part of Mirkwood. You know how hard it is to type poison? I don't know what it is about that. It's a finger twister for me. I'm just going to copy and paste it. A poisoned character is considered to be wounded. That's not great. Thus, if an already poisoned character is wounded once, he falls unconscious, as if wounded twice. Likewise, a wounded character falls unconscious when poisoned. Okay, great. That sucks. Different poisons may provoke different additional effects. Poison character remains as such until the proper remedy is applied. effects of the particular poison affecting him wear off. Okay. So now I'm going to let them see the existence of it, but not the details. Save. Now I can come back to the adder cop, and the adder cop, we're going to edit. Adder cop's going to get a poison tag because the adder cops can apply poison. So now we're going to go tags. We're going to go poisoned. Save. Now when I come into view, I can see poisoned, right? I can link straight to it. So I could have, and this is worth noting, I could very easily have created an entire category here of rules and then drop those in there. I still could have linked to it like I did here, still link to it, can still link those things together. I like the tagging system. The tags are the only thing that appear up here. It's up to you. This is the way I like to do it. It's totally possible to do it a number of different ways. All right. So now I've got the adder cop in here with the poison details, which is fantastic. So the next thing that I need to do is just double check the couple things. I'm going to actually put one more thing in the poison. So this is reference. It's page 130. I'm just going to put it in the ring book. Okay, that way I can find this again quickly if I need to look up something else. All right. So how does the combat actually work with these stats? We're going to double check a few things. So we're going to review combat. Let me pull that up and then I'll share that on screen with you as well. So I'm going to review those rules, and I might need to add more things into Lowerland here. We'll see. The Lowerland Master. There it is, combat 166. Me share my screen. Now it's just a loading PDF, but that's fine. The answer is that they did fine. There's only two players, so 2 characters plus the merchant and his son, but there will be opportunities to find NPCs and such along the way. The adventure itself auto scales based upon how many people there are. Here we go. If you type in the number correctly and hit enter correctly, it seems to work better. Yeah, this is why I hate running games off of PDFs, by the way. Because there's nothing worse than sitting on the table across from your players. They ask you a question and you're just sitting there waiting for a PDF to spin. I do actually, for this particular case, have, and I have the One Ring hardback, the beautiful red bound edition of the hardback, and I love using this for myself. And at the table, I generally do that if I need to look something up. But for stream, it's a lot nicer to be able to show you right here on the screen, so I use the PDF for that. And when I'm at the table, because I'm using Lowerlink and I have my laptop there already behind the GM screen, and it's behind the GM screen, you can't even see that I have the laptop necessarily. It's just so much faster to move around. If I need to look something up, the PDF's right there, and it's just a control find away, but it's so slow. I found myself using the paper book anyway for the things that I hadn't done planning for. So this was my first kind of on my own session running the One Ring. And so I got to learn firsthand the things that I do not know. That was kind of where we're at today and what I'm focused on. So combat, we know about combat. Congratulations. The onset of combat is dramatic. So there's a 4-step system to running combat. Resolve surprise attacks, determine initiative, assign combat advantages, resolve opening volleys, and then proceed on to close quarters. So easy enough. I maybe screwed up the first 2 steps here. It's fine. It can happen that a group of players heroes. I got surprise attacks mostly correct, and I got opening volleys correct. This really 2 and 3 that I screwed up a little bit. Group of players is caught by surprise by a foe that waylaid them. Yes, of course. Consider circumstances. First decide whether tests should be required to resolve the situation or not. And there are cases through some of the printed adventures where they will give you a test to determine if there is a surprise or not. Otherwise, use your best judgment. If you're being ambushed, call for a test of awareness from all players. Or you could test battle or hunting when it makes sense. Target number should generally be 14 unless there's another situation. 14 is the default number. Companion who fails the test has been completely caught off guard. So this is a case where some companions may be surprised and others not surprised, which is fine. A surprised companion doesn't get to roll battle to gain combat advantages. That sucks. They're also not allowed to make opening volley rolls, which sucks even more. So the company is ambushed. Heroes roll awareness, battle or hunting. If you're surprised, cannot roll. Yeah, okay. Warn another companion on a 6T, or 2 companions on a double 6. So this is, yeah, absolutely. Reason to wait. Do your planning before? Exactly right. I'm a planner anyway. I like to have things ready. Sometimes I'm busy and I don't have time to do all the planning I would like, which is kind of what happened here. I did the high level planning. I knew what the adventure was. I knew how I was going to run it, but I just didn't have the technical details down that I needed to have. So this is one of the things I love. When you roll 6s, if you have their actual, I have some here. So I have a few of these dice. So I'll show you a couple different ones. I have the original dice that they gave with the first edition, and then you have the second edition dice, and you have a black one for the GM and a white one for the players, and then they have matching D6s. Matching D6s for all of them. The other ones are a little bit hard to find. And the 6, if I can get that up to where you can actually see it, has a little T symbol on the top, and that is an indication that it's a Tengwar symbol. It's the extra success. Worth noting that 1s, 2s, and 3s are outlined instead of filled numbers, and that means something special. And then on the D12, it goes from 1 through 10. And then 11 is a Sauron symbol. And 12 is the Gandalf symbol. And a Sauron symbol is it's basically a critical fail if you're a player and a critical success if you're the GM. And Gandalf is the opposite. It's a critical success for the players and a critical fail for the GM. Regardless, those 6s are important, and so if one player has a good success and rolls a 6, they can spend those dice to warn other people, and they can usually spend them to boost their roll or improve their success in some way. One of the things that I found when going through and watching the players rolling is that the system can be very extreme. Like they would be fail, 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 and then all of a sudden they would roll a Gandalf and a pair of 6s, and like stuff happens, right? There's the Lux is very swingy, at least at early levels in this game. GM is trying to be Sauron, not exactly, but you know. But I do represent the darkness. I'm just saying. Okay, so when you're ambushing enemies, you roll stealth, battle, or hunting. All companions must pass the test, or the ambush fails. You can assist a companion on a 6 or 2 companions on a pair of 6s. Cool. When a companion overcomes the test, is noticed something going on, and is ready when all hell breaks loose. If you rolled a superior level of success, he has been able to warn the other companions. If at least half the heroes are not surprised, counting those who have been warned, then the fight is resolved as if the company was defending as far as the roll to assign combat advantage is concerned and holding the initiative. If, on the contrary, more than half the companions have failed the rolls and are surprised, the company will be considered to be as if attacking to assign combat advantages. The opponents will fight holding the initiative. Being ambushed. Companions are alert. Target number is 12. Moderately alert with at least one hero on the lookout. Or when advancing in enemy territory but not expecting an immediate threat, that's a 14. Marching with no lookouts or scouts, 16, and then completely unaware is an 18. That's fair. Ambushing enemies. For skill rules that you can take. Okay, cool. So first we determine if there's an ambush situation and resolve the ambush. Second, determine initiative. If there was a successful ambush, the attackers hold the initiative. Companies defending. This is probably the most common combat situation faced by adventurers. Both the company and its opposition are aware of the coming battle and are armed and ready. Defending companions will hold the initiative and may easily maneuver to profit from an advantageous terrain feature like a hill or a ruin if outside, or a narrow passageway or room. If the company is attacking, a little bit rarer occurrence, this could involve player heroes trying to free captured prisoners or trying to get hold of a prized possession. As in the previous instance, both the company and its enemies are armed and ready. The company's enemy is holding the initiative, and the heroes will find it more difficult to make use of advantageous terrain features. When the setup of a combat encounter doesn't let the lore master determine clearly who the attacker and who's defending, an opposed roll between the highest battle ratings and the opposed sides may be required to sort things out. The battle rating of a creature is represented by its vocation score. So let's see. Yeah, we've got a vocation there. Vocation 1 for these guys. Okay. The side that wins the opposed roll is considered to be fighting as if defending and profiting from advantageous terrain features. So while I'm reading through this, I want to do one thing really quick. The other mistake that I made when running this weekend, a really big mistake, is I accidentally grabbed the first edition GM screen. That did not help my case any when trying to look things up. Okay, so we've got the second edition GM screen. Hello. And just checking to see, hey, we've got an advantages table. Beautiful. Risk levels, yes. Special successes, yes. When to roll, endurance, resting, sources of injury. I have poison info in here, nice. First aid. I've got a journey events table, very good. Okay, so this is much nicer. Much nicer. Okay. Sweet. Okay, so that's going to be useful. I was just checking to see if the outline of combat was in here, and it is not. So I may actually put the outline as another rule really quickly. So we're going to pull this off to the side momentarily. And there we go. We're going to create another tag, a rules reference tag. We're going to call this let's just call this combat. And we're going to create a short table because that's how it is in the book. I have the page numbers. What the heck? I'll leave those in. Okay, so we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then end of unset. Okay, and then we've got 167, 70. I might eventually remove these if they don't hurt anything. Seed to close quarters. Here we resolve opening volleys. Assign combat advantages. And what I can do is I can tag encounters with combat. And that will allow me to quickly and easily pull this in. So this is the onset of combat table, and then I could add the ambush tables, but those are on the GM screen, so I'm not so worried about it. I'm gonna save that for right now. I'm gonna come in here to combat and show you what. Oops! Oh, that didn't work correctly. Oh. Let's see. Oh, okay. Interesting. I did not realize that. So we're going to save this. All right, onset of combat in the description. Now we have this nice table. It looks like this. I can easily see what the different steps are to getting the combat started so that I don't forget something again. Only there were GMs. Hey, you know what, Tony? Anthony. I know, it's one of the features we've wanted to do for a long time. Honestly, the big challenge with the GM screen is creating a really good GM screen that works technically and has good flexibility and customizability, is totally system agnostic, and doesn't cause other problems. You don't want any security issues, you don't want any accessibility issues, because those are kind of part of our core mantra, right? And then making that work for everybody, it's a lot harder. And one of the things, we keep trying to go back to it, but following user feedback has led us away from prioritizing it, because there's other things that our users have found more compelling. And you know what? That's fantastic. In fact, it's a great opportunity to bring up the fact that we want your feedback. We want to listen. We listen to feedback. We care about feedback. If you are a gamer or a player, I would love it if you would go and fill out our survey. So on the LoreLink website, we have a blog, a recent blog called Spill the Tea right here in our blog section. And there's details in here, what we're trying to accomplish with LoreLink and how we're trying to go about it. There's a gamer survey. So if you're a gamer playing or running, please, please, please fill out that survey. If you are in the industry, you're an author, a podcaster, streamer, whatever, please fill out the industry survey. Feel free to give us both. That would also be amazing. But we really want to hear from you. We want to not just design LoreLink for what works for you, but everything right down to how we interact with players, what events we go to, what types of activities we do, how we run our streams, how we build community around this, how we work with and help other small businesses in this industry, right? So always appreciate feedback. Okay, so we've got that detail in here. I'll pull this back up so that we can continue reading. Determining initiative, generally probably pretty straightforward. You can roll forward if necessary through an opposed battle roll. Okay. Then, effects of initiative. Roll for combat advantages. If the enemies act first, the roll for combat advantages requires an 18. Otherwise, it's just a 14. Before combat at close quarters is joined, all players may make a battle roll to determine if their characters spot features of the battleground that may be exploited. See preliminary rolls on page 150. Okay. This may be another case where I need to... 151. Oh, nice. I can already tell that I'm going to want to copy this at some point. What's up, Mark? See, Tony, don't you feel bad now? You hurt Mark's feelings, not mine. All right. Preliminary rolls. Ah, yes. Adventurers learn fast that if they want to survive when out in the wild, they better be prepared. Here we go. Journey advantages, combat advantages. That's what I'm looking for. Before combat at close quarters is joined, all players may make a battle roll to determine if their character spot features. Every successful battle roll grants a hero a number of bonus success dice to use during the ensuing fight. The hero will exploit the battlefield or the weather conditions to gain an edge. For example, repairing to a convenient spot to cover his back or kicking a fire to raise a cloud of sparks at the right moment. Beautiful. Ah, yes, preliminary rolls. So journey advantage. When a company has chosen the road they intend to follow and reach the destination, all players may make a lore check to see if they know something useful. And that'll give them success dice for the journey. You get success dice for the combat. You get encounter advantage. At the beginning of an encounter, all players may attempt an insight roll to determine if their characters are able to define the most appropriate course of action. So, yeah, this is super useful. At the beginning of any one of the 3 mains, how to use success dice. Heroes may spend their bonus success dice to boost their rolls during the ensuing endeavor. Add 1 bonus success die to any roll. To add the die, spend 1 of their own bonus die, or another player may spend it to give it to them. Commonly, heroes spend their bonus success dice on their travel rolls when journeying, on their attack rolls or protection tests when fighting, and on any useful roll during encounters. During the same turn, the player may spend 1 or more of the dice in their reserve at any time for their own roll to help others, but any roll may be modified by a maximum of 1 bonus success die. Okay. That's fair. And honestly, you don't want to overload the rolls for the most part. That's actually not super useful, is one of the things we're noticing. Ouch. Wow. Shots fired, Troxel. All right. There we go. So once you've determined combat advantages, next you have opening volleys. Descriptions of the different combat types given above show situations where the sides involved in the confrontation are separated by a short distance, allowing for the brief exchange of volleys. The precise circumstances of how the combat encounter should let the lore master judge how many volleys to allow. Normally, all combatants are entitled to a single volley using a bow or thrown weapon, such as a spear. If the 2 sides are separated by a greater distance, you might allow those using a bow to let loose more than 1 volley. The difficulty of all volleys is target number 12, plus the parry rating of the target. Modified by a shield. I missed this. Okay, that's cool. That's really useful to know. So, I love the system. I love how it captures the detail of the world and the grittiness, and like so much of that is captured well. The challenge that you run into is that some of the rules are you've got to know the rules pretty well. for things to run smoothly. So when you're doing a combat roll, it's always the same. You roll against a number on your own character sheet. I didn't realize that opening volleys were an exception to that. I had missed that fact when running the other things. So, so resolving opening volleys. I'm just gonna. Can I just copy and paste this, please? Yes, sweet. Beautiful. If the target is aware of an incoming attack, a shield doubles its modifier. As a carrier, deftly protects himself. Good to know. That's useful as well. Wow. Was there a reason not to do so? The exchange is considered to take place simultaneously. So those effects are played to player heroes and their opponents at the same time. Come on. This PDF won't even select promptly. So bulky, so many images and everything in here. All right, beautiful. Save that. Now I've got those details for the opening volleys. Okay, perfect. Default volley is 1, bow 2 if the distance is greater. Fine. Target number 12 plus parry plus shield. If the target is aware of attack, double the shield modifier. Beautiful. Surprise grenade is not allowed opening volleys. All volleys are resolved simultaneously. Nice. Kind of like this. I just drop that in. That's even better. Let's do that. Gain 12 plus parry plus shield if target is aware of attack. Double the shield modifier. And this is default volley is 1, and this is thrown weapon. And this is bows 2 if distance is greater. And then this. Oh, there's that. And let's check the preview. It doesn't really do column spans correctly. That's unfortunate. I wasn't sure. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop scrolling that. I don't want you scrolling. Come back. Answer is there doesn't seem to be a great way to do this. Nah. Yeah, not really a great way to do this. I'm not going to worry about it for right now. I like that, but I may copy that image in or something later. This is good enough for now. Resolving opening volleys. We'll just call that a day and go from there. All right, effects of initiative. Got that assigned volleys. Okay, beautiful. Once we've got through the volleys, one or more, we end up with close quarters. When the onset has been resolved, the fight at close quarters begins. Before a combat round sequence is initiated, players choose a stance and engage the enemy. So this is important. We're going to come back in here and close quarters. So this is important because close quarters has things that happen every combat round. You pick a stance. At the start of each round, all players declare their character's stances. That's important, so we're going to flag that. This we did get right. But it's still worth remembering because it's easy to forget to deal with the stances. Forward, open, defensive, or rearward, and you can only take rearward if two other characters take forward, open, or defensive. And I kind of GM handwaved this for a 2-player game. I don't think this is Infinite Citadel Matt day, but that's fine. So I'm hand waving it because there's only 2 players that if one of them takes forward, open, or defensive, the other one can take rearward. I'm allowing that. Mostly because there's a melee combatant and a ranged combatant, and it just makes sense for what they're trying to accomplish. If they get totally overrun, I might not allow the rearward, but in general, I'll allow that. So it works like this. And I actually have cheat sheets for them, so I'm not going to bother copying this down right now. They actually have cheat sheets they can have in front of them. Action order, combat target number. Oh, that's interesting. So during each combat round, all combatants belonging to the side holding the initiative take their turn, followed by the other side. So the initiative holders go in stance order, and then the non-initiative holders go in stance order. That makes sense. Characters may change their stance at the beginning of each round. There are no restrictions on how a hero stance unless hero wishes to assume a rearward stance. Hero who spent his previous round in the rearward stance may flee combat at the beginning of a round. Okay, simply change stance. Okay, order of actions, yes. Close combat stances, yes. Okay, good. Now, as long as a hero maintains its close combat stance, a player uses the stance's combat target number when making an attack roll using a close combat weapon. The same target number is used by the lore master for all close combat attack rolls directed at the character during a round. Oh, I was having them make the rules against their strength. That was wrong. Do I actually have one of their cheat sheets here? Actually, you know what? I do. I have it digitally. Let me check something really quickly. I've got the starter set cheat sheet. I think starter set stance. Oh, there it is. Stance and journey cards. I have it digitally, so I can share it with you. Boom. here is the thing. So you've got these are the different journey roles they can take. So they can use that side, and then this side, this is the combat roles. So it says, oh, it doesn't have the number. Wild. Your attack rolls gain 1 die. All plus. That's not correct. So this is what they did for the starter set. Huh. Okay. Interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so we're going to reproduce this in the stances, right? Because wild. So we're going to do the combat stances. We're going to do stance. I'm going to do combat TN. Order of action, which is pretty obvious. And then description. Character is allowed to assume a rear stance if there are at least other characters fighting. Close combat stance. Okay, and then we're going to do, these are going to be huge. Oh my goodness, the difference that's going to make. So they were trying to hit on a 14, or I think they were both trying to hit on a 14, which it turns out on 1d12 and 1d6 isn't great. So they were spending hope like crazy and everything, and it was really, really hard. Turns out it's because I did it wrong. So fortunately, those were simple and straightforward. But this is going to make the experience so much better. Just so much more fun to play. We get this right. All right. I'm going to copy these descriptions in. And then we're going to be good here. Well, that's going to save me a lot of trouble. So it turns out not having the right stats and then not having the right rules combined makes combat harder. Beautiful, much better. What I'm going to probably end up doing is actually printing new cheat sheets that have the correct information for them. So I do like some tactical every once in a while. But anyway, yeah, so that's fun. So we're going to go ahead and edit this one more time. We're going to fully share that with the players because I want them to be able to see that. Okay. Good deal. So that's the target number that they're trying to hit. Rearward. Once confrontation is underway, players are allowed to make ranged attacks in rearward. That's fine. Yep, we got that. Particular situation like finding on the narrow ledge might, another condition might allow them to reward them. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Characters in a rearward stance may not attack using close combat weapons and may be targeted only by attackers using ranged weapons. Okay. Basic target number for all ranged attacks is 12. Okay. When every player has determined the stance his hero will fight in, all combatants must engage one or more opponents. Yes. More enemies than heroes, which is what kept happening. Pair each unengaged creature with an unengaged companion in close combat. Remaining creatures can either engage a hero who is already engaged or stand back, possibly to use a ranged weapon. Yes, got it. More heroes than enemies. The players pair each unengaged hero with an unengaged adversary. Any remaining companion can then be assigned to face a creature that's already engaged. Fair. Hero may be simultaneously engaged by up to 3 human-sized opponents or 2 large creatures, such as trolls. Enemies may engage by up to 3 companions or 5 in the case of large creatures. Yes. So this is going to be my reasonable litmus test for when one of the players, because there are only 2 players, when one of them can remain in rearward, and that is if there's 3 or fewer opponents, one of them can take rearward. If there's more than 3 opponents, they're going to have to be in close combat briefly. Okay. The opposition outnumbers the beneath the lower master assigns the opponent of his choice. Yes. We got that. It is possible the choice of stances made by the players might determine that there will be enemies left when all companions have close combat engaged. Yes. Player turns. When it is the company's turn to act, the players take their actions in the order determined by their stances. Each player chooses an action for their character to perform. It can be an attack or a different action determined by the current turn of events, like rescuing a fallen comrade, sending a warning, that sort of thing. There are definitely non-attacking actions you can take during combat rounds. An attack is an action roll made using a weapon skill or cultural weapon skill. You may attack the enemies in close combat. The target number is the stance target number plus the target's parry. Close combat. The target number of an attack made using a close combat weapon is the attacking hero's combat stance, modified by the parry rating of the target and by the shield if they carry one. Yes. Heroes may make... Since combat close quarters starts, character may use ranged weapons and rearward stance. 12 plus the parry rating of the target, modified by shield if the target is carrying one. The high basic target number reflects the difficulty of aiming at a moving target while being careful not to hit another companion engaged in the fight. There it is. Brawling. Character attempting a close combat attack without a proper weapon can make a brawling attack. They're made using the dagger weapon skill, using a 1 endurance point worth of damage on a successful roll. Okay, throwing. And a character attempting a ranged attack using a stone or other object not specifically designed for throwing makes a throwing attack. Throwing attacks are rolled using the dagger weapon skill, inflicting 1 endurance point. Okay. Attribute bonus for attack tests. Body. The effectiveness of a weapon relies on the skill of its user, but may also profit from his physical prowess and strength. Players using a weapon skill to resolve a test, they may spend a point of hope to invoke a body attribute bonus. Okay. Well-placed blow always has unpleasant consequences, whether or not the hit is successful in producing long-term damage. A combatant can be disoriented by the sudden pain, lose their witness, and be sent reeling. When a melee or ranged attack roll succeeds, the attack was successful in hurting the target in some way. The target suffers an immediate loss of endurance based on the quality of the roll and possibly modified by the attacker's damage bonus. Okay. On a success, the target loses endurance points equal to the damage rating of the weapon. So, making sure to save this. Coming back to the Adder Cops, damage rating is a 3. Okay. So, on a great success, the target loses endurance points equal to the damage rating of the weapon plus the damage rating of the attacking hero. Okay. That's for heroes, okay. We'll look that up in a minute. On an extraordinary success, the target loses a number of endurance points equal to the damage rating of the weapon plus double the damage rating of the attacking hero. Cool. So, success, great success, and extraordinary success. Is right here in the GM screen. I will look that up in a minute then. Actually, I'll do another. I'll look it up in this so I don't have to lose my place in the other episode. Great success. Success. 18. Degrees of success. It's the number of T icons. So it's the number of 6s rolled on D6s. So, right. And it kind of indicates it right here. It just doesn't say the word. So this is a success, great success, extraordinary success. 2 or more D6. Or 6s on the D6s. That makes sense. Okay. Fighters soon discover that it is sometimes better to literally roll with the punches and reduce the force of an attack by stepping back or to the side or by kneeling under the force of the blow. In gaming terms, they learn to let themselves be knocked back. Characters may have the endurance loss by letting themselves be thrown off balance. If you're knocked back, you cannot change your stance and will spend the following round recovering your fighting position, unable to take any further action that turn. In other words, you don't take actions. If an adversary attacks while a hero is recovering from knockback, that attack is resolved normally. Warriors fighting in a full helm enjoy better protection but suffer a rather hefty encumbrance rating. Unlike the rest of the equipment making up a hero's gear of war, some relief can be found if the fighter takes the time to drop the helm and take a breath of fresh air. Free action to remove your helm. Lowers their fatigue score by 3, but you also lose the helm's protection bonus. If you're already weary though, that doesn't help. During combat, a fighter can see stamina be slowly whittled away as fatigue and blows suffered take their toll, or they can suddenly and unexpectedly cut down by a vicious stroke that bloodily penetrates the protective equipment. Any successful attack may inflict a piercing blow. If the feat die result in the initial attack roll is equal to or higher than the edge rating of the weapon. It's a piercing blow. Right. Make a note of that, because you have to remember to do that. Characters hit by a piercing blow must immediately make a protection test to avoid being wounded. A protection test determines whether a character's armor prevented the blow from causing lasting damage. Let's do this. Roger that. We roll the feat die plus the number of success dice with the protection value of the suit of armor, modified by helmet if worn. The target number is equal to the injury rating of the weapon used by the attacker. Okay, fair enough. If the roll fails, the character has been wounded. That sucks. Players may spend a point of hope to invoke an attribute bonus body on a protection test. A fighting character is feeling very confident or desperate may announce that they are trying a called shot before rolling the attack dice. When a called shot hits home, a special attack result occurs, depending on the weapon. So, for example, the Attercops, this is important, save this. The Attercops have a called shot of poison. They don't poison automatically, they have to do a called shot for that to happen. Good to know. The called shot hits only when the roll matches or beats the target number set for the attack, and the player obtains at least 1 T icon on the rolled success die. If the roll doesn't produce any T's, the attack misses altogether, even though the total roll may hit. So you want to have some D6s to even attempt a called shot. If the roll result doesn't match or beat the target attack number, and the player gets a Eye of Sauron icon on the feat die, this is a fumble. A fumbling attacker uses footing, exposing themselves. Next time they're attacked, the difficulty to hit them will be equal to their basic combat target number of the stance. You lose any bonuses from attributes, virtues, or equipment. Yikes. Basic cold shots. This is on everybody's weapons, so I don't need to record this, but axes, you can smash their shield. The attack resulted in a piercing blow, regardless of the outcome of the feat die. Nice. The target's shield has been smashed. The target drops their weapon. Attack results in a piercing blow regardless of the outcome. Nice. So you can smash, shield, drop weapon, or cause piercing blows. Nice. Tasks in combat, you can intimidate, rally, protect, prepare shot. Prepare shot basically makes it easier to hit next time, or you can run away. Run away, run away. You can protect a companion and still attack, which is good to know. Okay, cool. Good to know. That helps a lot. So I had done a few things wrong when I ran this, and that is very specifically, moving this to view mode really quickly. All right, I was not determining initiative and combat advantages, which is a problem. And then, not a huge problem, but they were losing out on some possible bonus dice during the adventure. But most importantly, we were using the wrong stuff for the combat stances because, as I showed you earlier, the starter set cards work differently in order to make the starting adventure simpler, which is fair, but I didn't realize that they had fundamentally changed some of the combat rules for the starting adventure. So this is going to make it much easier to hit because they were rolling against, let me see if I can find a character sheet to show you really quickly. Actually, I have one right here. 1 second, please stand by. The character sheet, I have them downloaded. Here's a default dwarven character sheet. So they were rolling against their strength target number. And what's interesting is that this character sheet actually makes it clear that that was wrong. What I had was the default character sheet in the back of the core rules, which I have right here. So this is the exact one that they were using. And you'll notice that in this one, can I rotate this? Okay. Oh yeah, there we go. So in this one, the combat proficiencies are lined up underneath strength. And so we just looked at that and said, oh, you're supposed to roll against your strength. No, that's not correct at all. This is a much better layout because it makes it clear that combat proficiencies stand alone, separate from the other things. So we're going to switch character sheets among other things. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, so if they were trying to hit 6s, oh my goodness, they would have obliterated those adder cops so fast. And even this, the 12 instead of a 14, the number of 12s and 13s being rolled, that's going to be a huge difference. So combat's going to go better. It's also going to be a little bit riskier because I think the adder cops are going to hit a little bit easier as well. But they're not going to be able to do poisoning unless they do cold shots, which is super risky. And they do 3 damage. But then the edge is 10, so it's really hard to get a piercing blow. Nice. All right, well, I feel a lot better about that now. Thanks for going with me on that journey. So that actually solved 2 of the big problems that I had when prepping this. So kind of quick recap. The story that we were in, where the river runs with gold, this one ended up not coming up because here they go attack 3 ruffians, and it's in the adventure that before you try to do that, you can try to scare them off. Well, these players are like, I'm big and bad, I'm gonna go terrify these guys, and succeeded admirably, like rolled absolutely unhinged, got an extraordinary success and sent them packing. No combat actually took place here, so that was fun. So then we went into the edge of the Woodland Realm, and had an encounter here. Oh, that's right. I don't have it in here. I have the. I don't have the adventure open. 1 second. I thought I had the adventure open. So this is the first edition Tales from Wilderland that I'm running the adventure from. I had not had time to copy everything into Lorelink yet, which is unfortunate because it really made my life difficult. So there's this 5-part thing, the long road, braving the perils of the Darkwood. There were so many spiders that happened there, and it just took a long time. And this is kind of the journey path they're taking through and everything. So I'm going to spend some time between this and the next time when I run the session, getting some of this content into Lorelink to make it run a little bit smoother. I still have just a little bit of time left, so I'm going to do one other thing really quickly, which is to... I think I'm going to tie these together, so let's look through the adventure really quickly. Don't leave the path as an introduction. Okay, the company discovers in the Easterly Inn, a piece of the Shire, the land of Bjornings, but the wild is still the wild. It takes more than hobbit cooking to keep adventures at bay. Okay. On the search for a missing trade caravan. So, first adventure takes across the Mirkwood. The latter two take place in Dale and the northern regions. The adventures are presented in order of increasing difficulty. The first 4 adventures can be tackled by a group of relatively inexperienced adventurers. The following ones offer a greater challenge. I'm not sure that I will run these exactly in order. They don't need to be. What I will more than likely do is run the last half of Don't Leave the Path and then create my own bridge between that and of Leaves and Stewed Hobbit or Kinstrife and Dark Tidings. I'm going to do one of those. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in here really quickly so that I have some options. So we're going to create a new story arc. We're going to do this of Leaves and Stewed Hobbit. And actually, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to zoom you in on Lorelink here. And save that. I'm going to create another one. Oops, let's create another story. I'm numbering these just because it makes it easier for me to keep track of the general sequence, even though the numbering is kind of unnecessary and is not actually in the book. But then I'm going to come down in the book to the overview of each of these. The book is well organized from that standpoint, that there's a great overview of the different parts, right? So here there are actually parts labeled. So 1, the Easterly Inn. And it's got just kind of a high-level summary for me, which is awesome. Reaching the High Pass. And then, so this section deals with the journey. You know, let me actually read these out loud and not just copy and paste. The Easterly Inn. The first part of the adventure describes how it came to pass that a hobbit opened an inn in the middle of the wild. The history of the Brandybuck brothers. And it becomes a location that they can go to again and again. Then you have the not reaching the High Pass. This is searching the High Pass. Let's searching the High Pass. This section deals with the journey across Wilderness to the foothills of the Misty Mountains on the High Pass. The company encounters several dangers in the ruins of a town. Let's go back here. So that actually raises a few things. We've got some locations, and I can reorganize these later. I have the High Pass. I have the Misty Mountains. And actually, the High Pass can be moved into the Misty Mountains. I have, let's go create some other locations. I have Mirkwood. I have the Easterly Inn. I should probably move all of these, quite frankly, into the Wilderland, but I'll worry about that if I actually need to create more sections. So they're going to create some locations, and then I'm going to be able to drop those locations into this story hierarchy, right? So we're going to do this really fast. The battle at 3, the ring fort. They come upon the survivors of the caravan and aid them in a desperate battle against a goblin host. And if they survive, they discover that the goblins carried someone off as they fled. Dun 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 dun. Under the hills. Following the goblins brings them into the Misty Mountain tunnels. And then part 5. The Goblin Feast. The reputation of Hobbit cooking has reached even the caves of goblins, and they demand that the Hobbit cook them a feast. The adventurers can use this feast to trick the goblins into fighting amongst themselves and to steal the key and free him while they're eating. You know, details. And then finally, we have a 6 epilogue back to the inn. So there's 2 other things that I wanted to get to tonight that I didn't. So I've got those. I'll fill these out later. There's 2 other specific things, rule sets that I need to review. One of them is the social interactions, because that's going to happen in the next round of adventuring. And so I'm going to look that up, and I'll share that with you in the next stream that I do about the One Ring. And the other one is journeying. So I realized that in the starter adventures, they do a really good job of explaining. Okay, they don't do an amazing job. They do an okay job of explaining how to run the journeys, and more importantly, it's part of. There's an actual reference book for the Shire, and with tables on how to roll for journeys, and so the overland journeys are fairly well communicated to you. When you're doing more of an open world type of game like this, it kind of is up to you to have the correct source book with the right tables in it, and to figure out what do you need to roll against to determine random encounters. So there's a fairly the adventure actually tells you how many times to roll based upon a variety of factors. So effectively, it's telling you how long the journey is and how risky it is based on a number of factors. And then what's less clear is exactly how to conduct those rolls with the players. I winged it a little bit. It went okay, but I think it could be better. I'm not sure that I did it quite right. And the reality is, even if I do it right or wrong, that's an area that could really use some prep, because I need to have ready to go the creatures or NPCs they could encounter when having these random encounters, because sometimes the random encounters, unlike some games, that can really push the story forward here, and sometimes they're counting on that. So those encounters, I need to have all the encounter things that are going to happen ready to go. I need to have those actually right here in the encounter system, so I know what to roll and how to run it. For even all the random encounters that could show up. And I also need to have any rolling tables, in other words, what stat are they going to roll against, and how is that going to determine the outcome of what occurs? Because I can pre-prep a lot of more things than I thought I could. I thought it was going to be, and they're just rolling for it anyway, it doesn't matter. Well, I was wrong. I need to actually plan what happens in the different eventualities, because it'll make things run smoother at the table. And I think that eventually, once I'm more proficient with the system, and more importantly, when I'm familiar with the rules for the different areas and different terrain, I probably won't need to do that. But the cool thing is, because it is often terrain or region based, I'm going to be able to put these encounters, tie them into specific locations. If I create regions as locations, I can tie specific random encounters into those locations here in Lorelink. And once I've created it once, I'll be able to keep reusing that content for future random encounters. So I won't have to keep redoing that prep, assuming they stay in the same kind of environment, which is the intent of this ebook. This Tales from Wonderland book has all these different adventures in the same general part of Middle Earth. So that is certainly my plan. So cool. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully it was at least somewhat interesting. I walked you through some of the things that Lorelink can do and how I use them. Went over a little bit more in depth on how the One Ring RPG works, which is hopefully somewhat helpful. It really, when you get into running the full adventure, it becomes a little bit different. So I've learned a lot from running a session. I'm sure that by the time I'm done running through a number of these, it'll be even easier. But anyway, we are Lorelink. We build software to help you run your games, plan your games, and collaborate with your players, both offline or online, between sessions and at the table. So do check us out. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Up next week is another session, another stream, and I really need to remember to look that up before I hop on here. We have another stream next week. Check it out. Please show up. It'd be greatly appreciated. We do have a couple guests coming next month, which is going to be super exciting. And you're going to have a gaming stream with 20 here in a couple weeks. So thanks for being here. Have a good night. Give us a follow on our Blue Sky for the correct schedule, since I can't remember what it is. And yes, Mark is back next week, and he's going to be running you through some adventure planning in a completely different system. So that'll be a lot of fun. Have a good night. Take care, everyone. Bye.